Hello, and welcome to the Protect and Prevent podcast. My name is Opal Singleton. I'm the president and CEO of Million Kids. Today's podcast is about financial sextortion, two words that can change a family's life forever. Now, I've been doing this about 15 years, but I believe that today's podcast is very likely the most important podcast I've ever done. So thank you for listening. I hope that you will share this information everywhere you can once you understand the urgent and critical issue related to financial sextortion. Quite frankly, I'm going to just cut to the chase. 45 young guys across America, ages 13 to 17 years old, have taken their own life because of financial sextortion. Our organization is called Million Kids, millionkids.org. I hope you will look us up and help us combat this, because every day we say never again should another young person lose their life. Should another family go throughout the rest of their life missing the most cherished person they ever knew. It is such a senseless crime. And yet it is a crime that continues. This started back in 2021. I have read every case of those 45 cases of young people, and it'll just turn your stomach when you realize that if we can just get people like yourself to listen and pay attention and understand it, that we can say never again. Back in 2021-22, we thought, okay, the word will be up. Many of the families who lost their precious sons formed foundations. They've gone and changed legislation. They've gotten media attention. And yet it continues because people do not understand it. So the hideous tragedy of this situation is that everyone thinks that they already know about sextortion. But that was yesterday's sextortion. It changed, and it changed because of several factors. I recently released a book, and I hope you'll take the time to buy that book. It is called Digital Warfare: Our Kids on the Front Line. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it in paperback. You can get it audio for only $5 at millionkids.org, or you can get it at Kindle. But listen to this. This is happening because of one thing, which we all know, but few people really think out what it means. And that is that in the last 3 years, the entire world became connected by internet. 5G, high speed, we hear about it all the time. I don't think a day goes by that we don't hear about these latest technologies. So now 70% of the world is online with your young person, okay? And that means that criminal organizations in countries like Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Benin, Myanmar, Pakistan, Philippines, Cambodia, Dominican Republic, Monaco, Burkina Faso. I had to look up that country, okay? And Kenya, these people, now, not everybody in those countries are bad people. In fact, I know some, and they're very fine people. But in these very poor countries that are developing countries, there is a huge criminal element. And so this works in a variety of ways. But what is happening is organized criminal groups in these countries can now reach your child in their own bedroom, in the backseat of your car, in between their basketball game when they get a text. And so not only are they online with our kids, but they have access to the very same information that we have, okay? The very same technology that we have. And they use it. So what happens here is you'll take your young person aside, and the first thing they'll go is, Oh, mom, it's okay. I'm careful. And, I'm not going to get caught because I know what I'm doing. Well, ask them why. What is your criteria for deciding who you're talking to? And they'll say, well, I only talk to people I know or who know somebody I know. That is the trap with a big T. Trap, trap, trap. It's a trap. Okay. Because when you're talking to a stranger who knows you, you have to ask yourself, what do they know about you? And how do they know you? And how much do they really know? I have read every one of these 45 cases. And these are people that are sitting halfway around the world that look like they know you. How does that work? They have artificial intelligence, AI, the same as you and your young person does. And they literally will create a profile. They will run a whole background of your young person. And this is exactly why they are targeting the most successful kids. When you look at these 45 kids, every one of them was the last person that anybody thought would ever take their own life. And the reason they're being targeted is they have the most information about them out there. In many of these cases, they'll leave notes saying they knew all about us. They knew all about me. One kid said, Mom, they had a picture of my bedroom. Well, their home was on Zillow. And they said they had pictures of mom and where she worked. They had a picture of the house. They had a picture of all their sports games. They had a list of all their followers. It is not hard to do. One of the most important conversations you can have, one of the most important exercises you can do with anyone in your life that is going online, especially if they're young, like 13 to 17, or God forbid earlier, is run your own profile. Run the profile of your home, put in your address, put it in Zillow, put your parents, put the parents and the grandparents in LinkedIn, okay? And everything else that Google them. Go out there and find out, Google your children. What do we know about them? You see, they target the most successful kids because they have the most information. But your child is using the exact criteria that I only talk to people they know. If they're on Instagram, if they're on TikTok or several of the others, and their profile is not on private, guess what? Whoever they're talking to is a friend of every one of your kids' friends because that list is there. And by the way, that's how they blackmail these kids that end up panicked and taking their own life. Because what will happen is it'll come on looking like a young, hot girl. Now, the 45 deaths, 44 of them are young guys, and I have read every one of those cases. And in almost every one of those cases, those kids are into sports. So they must be starting with kids that excel in sports. And now one of them wasn't, but most of them are. And they are well known. They have a game. They show the pictures of the school and the game. And so what will happen is one kid was at the game, at playing and practicing, when he got a text, and it went for several hours when he was replying. But that will always lead to something salacious. Your kids need to hear this from you. And this needs to be in a very special way, mom and dad. Please, please, I know I'm excited. I know that I'm raising my voice. I know that. But I'm going to ask you not to. I'm trying to get your attention, but if you want the attention of your young person, lower your voice, put away your wagging finger, and sit down with them and say, I'm learning about something called financial sextortion and how 45 very smart, precious young people have lost their life. And it concerns me. And I want you and I to explore it together. I want both of us to understand what happened here so that it never happens to us. And the other reason this is so important, Mom and Dad, is that this is the first generation in all of history that can reach the entire world, but can be reached by the entire world. And how we train this generation is going to set the stage for their younger brothers and sisters. For all future generations, this is the most important time in all of history for you to be a parent or a grandparent or a leader of young people. But we have to get it right. So I'm hoping that you will educate yourself, because what happened here is it takes place in many different ways. Sometimes, and by the way, I have many podcasts, but this is the one that's the most explicit. So share it with them. Go online and look this up. I think that I'm going to make a presentation that we can actually market it and put it out there so that you can see the slides. But it will be a variety of people. It could be just individual criminals sitting in Nigeria. And this has happened to several of our people. Young people who think that it's cool to get American teenagers blackmailed and make their money. Now, sometimes it's actually groups of criminals. Sometimes it's people that are actually enslaved in scam farms by the thousands that are starting to open the door. And sometimes it's the Yahoo boys. And sometimes it's actually Nigerian cartel. And it isn't just Nigeria, it's Pakistan, Myanmar, Dominican Republic. Why is it so important? Because only 70% of the world is now online. And when that next 30% comes online, they are poor people. And they have learned that the fast way to make thousands of dollars is to sit there and use the same technology our kids use and blackmail them. In a couple of these cases, they've been able to track who they are. And they go over and talk to them and say, don't you feel bad that kid took his life? No, I don't feel bad. They're rich and I need the money. That's how they think. And so we are putting our kids in an environment that they're not prepared to stand against. And it's just because we don't know. But that can change. Just the very fact that you're still with me on this conference, on this podcast, tells me you care. So let me keep educating you. Our kids will use the criteria of talking and believing that it's someone they know. And they're hormonal. They're great kids. They're not bad kids. This is the frustration I have when I talk to when I talk to pastors and teachers and like that. And they'll go, well, I don't worry about it too much because our kids are pretty naive and they're not online much. And do you know, one of these kids was only on Instagram like 1 week? And one kid had not even been on it. And one kid went to a Christian school. And they were educated. I need pastors. Please take this podcast to your pastor. I need sports coaches. I need PE teachers. I need teachers of all kinds. I need anybody who deals with kids to listen to this. Please share it with them. Because everybody goes, well, it's not going to happen to our kid because our kids are good kids. You know, the most important thing you can do as an adult, finish this podcast, understand it, continue to educate yourself. You can write to me at opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. I will continue to train you. And what you can do is understand it and share it with everyone you know. Because what I want this child to do with their family is sit down and run a profile of themselves online, so that your child can understand that anybody, anywhere in the world will look like their best friend. And they will be sexual to get your attention. And it doesn't have to be much, okay? Do you know right now in the U.S., the statistics are that 1 out of 6 boys and 1 out of 7 girls have sent some sort of sext or nude online. It doesn't even have to be a full nude. We have artificial intelligence. Several of these boys received deep fakes. They just sent something minor and they altered it. Anybody who sends a personal image now online will be in danger of being blackmailed. Well, we think that our kids are going to handle the blackmail, but we're not talking about the kind of blackmail that we had in 2020. No, we're talking about some of the worst criminals in the whole world that doesn't care if your child dies. And so they will take whatever they can get if they can turn it into money. So I want, as a family, that you and your family sits down and begins to educate yourself, develop your own profile. Share this podcast, because what will happen is they will take whatever they can get, and then the minute they can get something they can use, it goes to the hardcore. Okay, these are the people who are the real cartels. And I've read every one of these 45 cases, and it is heartbreaking beyond belief. I hope I'm going to start having some of the parents of these kids on here that can share with you. But some of these kids, before they kill themselves, endured the most brutal attacks you've ever seen. You're nothing, you're nobody, you're ruined. Here is your nude photo, and here is your list of Instagram followers. I am going to send it out to everyone there until you send me 500. And our kids need to know, never, ever send money. It'll never be enough. I know one kid who sent an $8,000 and they were still after him. I know one 13-year-old boy in this case. It just makes you cry. Every day they told him he had to send $35. He is 13 years old. How much money does he have? And he's saying, I'm just a child. And they go, too bad. And they don't care if they destroy your child. This is why my book is called Digital Warfare. This is how 45 kids who would never, ever take their life were pounded and humiliated and shamed and embarrassed. You see, they get the most successful kids, and then they humiliate them and shame them in a way that we as Americans cannot understand. We can change it. This is tragic beyond belief, but we can change it. It is 2 words, and it's 2 words that ought to be on television every night of the week until every household in America understands. People like Tim Tebow are taking this on. Congratulations, Tim. I don't know you, but I'm proud of you. You know, people are taking this on, but still somehow we continue to lose kids because they don't understand. We as parents, as leaders, as teachers, as pastors, as people of faith, have to take this on. This should be in every youth group in America. This conversation, that from here on out, as leaders, as Christian leaders, as independent people who care about other people, they need to understand how financial sextortion works and how to prepare our kids. The first thing a family does is run your profile, and then begin to go on YouTube and put in teen suicide and sextortion. And here's some of these cases. Read them. Is it hard to hear? Yes. But it will be a real tragedy if we lost 45 of our brightest young people across the nation and other families don't learn from it. So that is the passion of me and kids. I hope this is helpful. We're going to go into more detail again in the future, but please write to me if you want to ask questions. Go to millionkids.org, sign up for our newsletter. It's free. We don't sell your name. Go on to Million Kids Facebook and hear some of these stories. Buy Digital Warfare, our kids on the front line, either at Amazon or at Million Kids, and educate yourself. And then I'm going to ask you to be a leader. Take up this cause in the name of the families of 45 people whose hearts are broken, 45 families who are out there talking about it themselves, but they've had a tragic loss. We have to say, never again should this happen. That is why I get up every day of my life. My name is Opal Singleton. You can write to me at opal@millionkids.org. Please help us. You can help us financially. If you want to send a donation, you can do that at millionkids.org/donate. That's all there is to it. But whether you send us money or not, pick up the charge. Let's say there should not be a 46 family that is grieving the greatest grief of any family in a lifetime. Thank you for listening. My name is Opal Singleton at millionkids.org. This is the Protect and Prevent podcast. We'll see you next week.